get started. I know that, again, I apologize for starting a little bit late this morning, but we had some technical difficulties we worked out. So appreciate your patience and staying on board. But we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 11:10. And I would just like to welcome everybody to the meeting that we have today. I'm trying to get my notes up here very quickly. If you'll just have a few patience. Okay. All right. Well, first, I'd like to acknowledge our land acknowledgement. I always like to encourage everybody, if you're a part of an event or sponsoring one, I encourage you to do the land acknowledgement of where you're currently at. So where I currently am, I'd like to acknowledge the Tohono O'odham and the Pasquayaqui people and the traditional homelands of where I currently am here in Tucson, Arizona. I also want to acknowledge the Acapulco Otham and the Peeposh people there in the Phoenix area. That's where our headquarters for AIEA is housed at. And so I want to give acknowledgement to those peoples for allowing us to be visitors upon their beautiful traditional homelands. So thank you for allowing us to be here. But that was the first and foremost. I'd like to go ahead and go into our introductions. So those who don't know me, I think pretty much everybody knows who I am, but I'll introduce myself in my Kiowa language. Hatso Nawa Kwahat Hatso Mtoya Goigu Masep Chawina, Oklahoma, Kimberly Dankobigay Khan. My name is Kimberly Dankobigay, and I sit as the current president for the Arizona Indian Education Association. I also work in the Tucson area with the Amphitheater Public Schools as a Native American Education Coordinator. I'd like for our executives to introduce themselves, and then Jerry, after the executives introduce, we can go down the participants list and allow everybody to quickly introduce themselves on the call. So we'll start with our Vice President, Esther.
Hello. Good morning. Yat shikeda shidana she es turachit inishla biligana bashachin shihi dashiche biligana dashanali she Esther Nystrom Inishia. That is my introduction as a Navajo woman. Hello, my name is Esther Nystrom. I am the Vice President for Arizona Indian Education Association and also the Program Specialist for Mesa Public Schools Native American Education Program. Thank you and welcome for being here.
I can go next. Hello, everyone. My name is Jerry Thomas. I am Navajo and I live here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm the Healthy Native Youth Specialist at the Intertribal Council of Arizona. And I am also serving as the AIEA Secretary. So thank you and welcome, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. Oh.
Nope, sorry. You're up, Travis, go for it.
Sorry. Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great Friday. My name is Travis Lane. I'm the Assistant Director for Intertribal Council of Arizona, and I am the Treasurer for the Arizona Indian Education Association. So glad you're able to join us today.
Hayate, Shailina and Yazian, Shiatu Hedlini Nishlodo, my Deshkini Bashashin, Katnezakni Dashachedo, Kiani Dashanella. Hi, everybody. I'm Linan Yazi. I am currently the co-secretary or communications person for AIEA. I also am the Native American specialist with Phoenix Union High School District. I am currently serving as the chair of the Indian Education Advisory Council for Superintendent Hoffman, and I'm so glad you are all able to join us. So thanks for being here.
Okay, so I will just go down the list as it names. So first up, I have Kate Tice.
Hi, I'm Kate Tice. I had worked in Chandler School District. I've been a teacher for about almost 20 years now. I'm now a business owner, but I am really interested in helping all of the students in our communities. I also work with Save Our Schools Arizona, where I'm the digital director there. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Kate. Next, I have Paul.
Good morning, everybody. Paul Fulgenetti with the Dropout Recovery Program from Career Success Schools. We work with partners on Navajo, Apache, and we're looking at Gila down south in Tucson and in Phoenix Metro. It's great to be with everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, next up we have John.
Hi, everyone. My name is John Bastian. I work at Rio Salado College, and good to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Then next up we have Graciela.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yad Eshe Zani Oliva Sinishia, Hashkana Zoe Nishle, Nakai Bashachi, Nakai Era Shanala Ado, Sinjikina Era Shache. I just introduced myself in my Navajo language. I work with Dr. Lindsay, Ben, and Alex, who are also on this call at the University of Arizona's Southwest Environmental Health Sciences Center as a program coordinator for the Community Engagement Corps. It's really nice to meet you all, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have Leanne Bighorse.
Tagodashi, Dr. Leanne Bighorse Gonze, she Miss Arizona Yugon Schling, she Twitter Chitney Schling. Hello, my name is Leanne Bighorse, and I work at Native Health. I'm the Youth Resiliency, Tribal Practices, and Circles of Care Program Manager here. And this is my first meeting, so thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Leanne. Next, we have Ben Richmond.
Hello, my name is Ben Richmond. As Zani said, I work with Zani and Alex at the University of Arizona Southwest Environmental Health Sciences Center. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Monique Sosi.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Monique Sosi, and I work with the Intertribal Council of Arizona, and I work as a program analyst and assist Travis on education initiatives.
Thank you. Next, we have Charissa.
Her mic is not currently working, but she did write in the chat. She is with American Indian Outreach at Maricopa Community Colleges.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, next we have Margaret. Okay, next we have Alex Benavides.
So hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Benavides. I work with Zani and Ben at the Southwest Environmental Health Sciences Center at the University of Arizona. And I'm the program coordinator for Students Journey, which is a joint partnership program with TOCC, Donna Otham Community College, and it's a program to just increase pathways to college for TOCC students. So happy to be here, and yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, I think that is everyone on the call. And I think we can move forward with the approval of minutes.
Jerry, this is Esther. Margaret typed in that she is from AMPI Native American Education Program.
Oh, great, thank you, Margaret. Okay, I am going to exit really quickly so we can approve the minutes. So last month, well, a few months ago, I wasn't able to get the minutes ready for November. So I've done the minutes for November, and then after we approve these minutes, then we can go through and look at the January minutes. So if everyone can just take a look at the minutes, and then we can slowly go through and then we can approve.
Could I have a call to approve the minutes? Jerry, I'm not seeing it in the chat box. Did you already drop it in there? I didn't receive it by email, or I haven't seen it in the chat box. Jerry, you're on mute if you're trying to respond.
Okay, can everyone hear me now? Okay. So let me put it inside the chat box right now. But did everyone see it on the screen? No? Okay.
No, it never came up on the screen.
Okay. Sorry, 1 second.
My internet was a little unstable. I thought maybe my screen froze.
Oh, okay. All right. It says that the November minutes have been uploaded inside the chat box. Just in case, let me upload the January minutes to the chat box as well. There we go. Uploaded the January 15 minutes too.
Okay, so if everybody could quickly review the minutes, and then I'll call for a vote in a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, please.
Thank you. Jerry, do you think it's possible to bring up the November minutes on the shared screen, please?
Jerry, I just have one correction for the November meeting minutes. Under President's Report with Title VI grant, that should state will be opening soon.
Okay.
Part one actually just recently opened.
Hello, this is Esther. I'd like to make a motion to approve November 2020 minutes.
Okay, motion on the floor to accept November 2020 November 20th, 2020 meeting minutes. If I could get a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by, I didn't see who said.
It was me. It was Kate.
Okay, thank you, Kate. Seconded by Kate Tice. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? Abstain? Motion passed. Thank you. Jerry, some of us have been having a hard time trying to download the meeting minutes. If you could put the January meeting minutes up there.
Okay.
And hopefully we have some quick readers that we can get through the January meeting minutes as quickly as possible to move forward. Thank you.
Okay, here's the January 15th minutes.
Okay, if I could call for a motion to approve our January meeting minutes.
This is Lynn. I motion or move to approve our January meeting minutes.
Motion on the floor.
This is Travis. I second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstain? Motion passed. Thank you so much. All right, Jerry, if we could get the agenda back up on the screen, we'll move forward. Thank you for your patience, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So next on the agenda is the president's report. I'll try and get through this very quickly, as I know I want to try and get the meeting moving along. First and foremost, I'd like to, as I mentioned earlier with the Title VI grant, for those of you who do receive the Title VI, just as a general reminder, Part 1 has opened. It opened on February 8th, and it will close on March 11th. This is where we have to submit our student count, Indian student count, so please make sure every student is accounted for. Those who have been on the webinars that have come out through the Office of Indian Education, through the department, there's a change this year with the OMB Max Survey portal, that link, for if you have not clicked or looked at your application just yet, my district actually ran into a little bit of problem in trying to locate that link. The link was actually sent to my superintendent. So if you are not the I'm not the contact person that signs off on it. So it wasn't sent directly to me, but for those who have not been able to get to their application, that may be the reason why. So check with your superintendents or that person of contact who will actually sign off and approve your application for your program, is the person who will receive that link. As mentioned, this year there's a new portal that we've learned and having to navigate through. It's pretty much the same, it's just a little bit different. There are some very good improvements as far as the parent form that you have to submit. So I encourage you to just get that submitted as soon as possible. Again, that closes on March 11th. Next on, I wanted to mention was with the land acknowledgement. As I mentioned earlier, I always try and encourage you to do that and acknowledge the lands upon which wherever your event is being held at. But I did want to acknowledge that the city of Tempe recently put the mayor and the council approved to acknowledge that at their events and things that they have going on for the city. And so Tempe sits on the traditional homelands of the Otham and the Peepash lands. The city recently acknowledged that its 40 square miles are on the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community and upon their homelands. And as a way to recognize the Native history and the cultural land significance, they approved to officially recognize the land acknowledgement. Just in part of what their statement says, I just want to read a little bit part to you. It says, we wish to acknowledge that Tempe is the homeland of the Native people who have inhabited this landscape since time immemorial. The landscape is sacred to the Otham and the Peepash and reflects the cultural values that are central to their way of life and their self-definition. We accept the responsibility of stewarding those places and solemnly pledge to consider this commitment in every action. And so I thought that was a really great acknowledgement that they did for the traditional homelands there in their area. I know it had been a long time coming. I know that Debbie Manuel, who has participated in our organization in previous years, was a big part of helping push that through as well and advocating for the city of Tempe to do that acknowledgement. And so congratulations to them on making that happen. Maybe, hopefully this will set a model for all the other cities to do the same, as well as universities and other places of businesses. With that, I also wanted to mention on a state level that the Office of Indian Education, which we'll get to later in the agenda, was recently announced for that office that the Arizona state, will receive $1 million in support of that Office of Indian Education. So that is a huge accomplishment. Yay. Thank you, educators, for your continuous advocacy for this. It has been a long time coming, and this was wonderful to hear from Superintendent of Instruction Kathy Hoffman made the announcement during her State of Education address a few weeks ago. And so very pleased and very happy to hear that. We'll talk more about that in later in the agenda. Also for the state, I wanted to mention that we do have supporters in the legislation. So Representative Teller, Orlando Teller, was recently replaced. Um, he was appointed at a national level, which I'll talk to in a few seconds. But in his replacement, Jasmine Blackwater, I'm probably going to tear up her name, but I think it's Nygren or Nygren, has been appointed to fulfill the remainder of his position, his term in the House of Arizona House of Representatives for District 7. Just a little bit background about her. She's a highly educated Dene woman, graduating from Stanford in her undergrad years and from the ASU Law School, who has strong ties to her community and Apache County. She is well versed in the Navajo, Arizona, and U.S. law, and will bring a fresh voice, perspective, and ideas to the Arizona State Legislature. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that she is a recent replacement for Representative Teller's position for District 7. So congratulations to her. As far as state legislation, I wanted to just bring light and highlight a few House bills that are going through that are now going to the Senate. So I wanted to bring your attention to House Bill 2705. This House bill was introduced by former Representative Teller and is carried on to Representative Sosi. It was introduced on January 27th. The House passed this bill on February 11th, and it has currently been assigned to the Senate Education and Rules Committee. The House Bill 2705 is the dress code and policies for traditional tribal regalia and objects of cultural significance for graduation ceremonies. This was introduced or tried to be introduced last year's legislative session, but it didn't really go anywhere. So this year it's been reintroduced, and very pleased that the House finally passed this. So it's on to the Senate. So we're very hopeful. And if I encourage you that to please cast your vote in favor of, because this is in support of our students of wearing their tribal regalia, and make it in black and white and in policy that they won't be it won't be held against them for not graduating because they're doing that. So in part, this bill says the school district governing board, a charter school governing body, or any public school may not prohibit a student who is a member of a federally recognized Indian tribe or who is eligible to be enrolled as a member of a federally recognized Indian tribe from wearing traditional tribal regalia or objects of cultural significance, including eagle plumes or eagle feather at a graduation ceremony. So I highly encourage you to keep up to date on this House bill. This is very important and significant for our Native students throughout the state of Arizona. I also wanted to bring to light a Senate bill, which I'll allow Kate to elaborate on later on, but this is the Senate Bill 1452. This is a voucher expansion bill, which if passed, what it will do, it will pull a lot of public education funding out of the public school district and allow that funding to go towards private schools. So it's a huge problem that we face in education, especially for our public school districts. But I'll allow Kate some time later in the agenda during our program updates to expand on that if she would like to do that. She has been a strong advocate with the Save Our Schools Arizona network, and appreciate her taking the time to be with us today. She is one of our newest members, so welcome, Kate, and the Save Our Schools Arizona network. On a national level, as I mentioned, Representative Orlando Teller was recently appointed to serve. He is now the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Tribal Affairs for the U.S. Department of Transportation. So we are getting that voice, our Native voice, at a national level. So this is one of the appointments that was recently made by the Biden administration. And so We're very hopeful that our voice will be heard and that these advocates who have done a tremendous work and legwork here in our local areas will do the same for us at a national level. So I just wanted to highlight that and to let you know he has been appointed and where he went from here. Also, I wanted to mention Deb Holland's confirmation hearing. For those who aren't aware, Deb Holland is with she's a House representative. She is Laguna Pueblo from New Mexico. The Senate Energy and Natural Resource Committee has scheduled her hearing for nomination as the Interior Secretary for Tuesday, February 23rd. So this is a huge appointment if she is confirmed. Holland is a second-term Democrat representative, and if she is confirmed by the Senate, she will be the first Native American to serve at a cabinet position in the history of the United States. So this is very huge and a significant impact for our Native people. In support, NCAI addressed the letter to the Senate stating, the U.S. Department of Interior carries out a broad range of responsibilities, including the management of public lands, water resources, minerals, wildlife management, and cultural heritage preservation. Additionally, it is charged and entrusted with upholding the federal trust and treaty responsibilities to the 574 tribal nations and more than 5.2 million American Indians and Alaska Natives. As a result of these unique fiduciary and trust obligations to tribal nations, it is time that the ranks of Interior's leaders finally include a voice from the community whose day-to-day lives it impacts the most. So we are very hopeful that she will be confirmed. And if confirmed, as mentioned, she's going to be the first Native American to hold that high position in the cabinet. So please keep up to date on that. Again, that will take place Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, February 23rd. As mentioned, NCAI, which is the National Congress of American Indians, they will hold their State of Indian Nations address on Monday, February 22nd at 12:30 our time, Arizona time. This is the State of Indian Nations address. For every year, the president of NCAI presents the State of Indian Nations address to members of Congress, government officials, tribal leaders, and citizens, and the American public. The State of Indian Nations is a speech that shares the positive and future-oriented vision of the tribal nations. This will be a virtual event. You do have to register in order to participate, and I am going to drop that link there in the chat box for those who would like to register and be a part of that. Again, that's going to take place this coming Monday on February 22nd at 12:30. Almost done. Hang in there with me. The Interior announces a series of tribal consultations in recognition of the importance of the nation-to-nation relationship. This was released last week, February 11th. We do have social media for Arizona Indian Education Association. If you have not liked our page and have Facebook, I encourage you to like our page. What I am sharing out here, we also share out on that social media platform as well. This is the Department of Interior announced that it will host initial consultations with tribal leaders starting next month. In addition to honoring and strengthening the nation-to-nation relationship, these steps will help ensure that the future White House and Interior efforts at addressing the four converging crises of our time: COVID-19, economic security, racial justice, and climate change are inclusive of tribal nation priorities and recommendations. The Interior will hold 4 tribal consultation sessions in March to hear tribal leaders' suggestions for federal policy and departmental actions, including identifying additional best practices to improve consultation and fortify Interior's relationships with tribal government. Out of the 4 for our region, which includes Navajo, Southwest, and Western regions, will be held on Wednesday, March 10th, 2 o'clock Eastern time, so that would be 12 o'clock our time. And the deadline for writing any written comments will end on March 19th. Comments can be submitted to the BIA.gov email. We will again follow up as we did last month with all of this information for you to be able to review at a later time should you miss any of it. With that, I'd like to end with a few student opportunities. We received some student opportunities from the University of Arizona. The first one will take place, a save the date, for April 22nd. This comes from the College of Pharmacy out of the University of Arizona. Marty Lindsay, who is a member or who has been a part of AIEA, had shared this with us. She and her colleagues are unable to be with us today, but she did want us to mention that the conference, this is a youth conference, Tribal Voices Youth Conference. It's Save the Environment Now to Have a Better Life in the Future. Again, sponsored by the University of Arizona's College of Pharmacy. For more information or questions, you can contact Benjamin Richmond. I will drop that web link in the chat box for those who are interested in, and learning more about that conference. Hopefully we will have her next month to provide further information on what this means. The second one is from the 4-H, is with the 4-H STEM University. This is from the cooperative extension from the, I think it's Life Sciences and Agricultural, I forget the full name of it, but it's out of the University of Arizona. They are having a spring camp, March 3rd through April 28th. Again, this is with the 4-H STEM University online. It is called the Underwater Robotics Camp. It's open to youth, teachers, educators, and 4-H volunteers. Registration will close on February 24th. It's to learn about underwater robotics alongside students and or club members for attending the camp. It's open to students in grades 6 through to 12. Again, we will provide more information. There is a flyer that was sent to us. We'll share that with you as well. Lynn, if you happen to have those, feel free to drop those in the chat box. And lastly, scholarship opportunities are open. There's the Cobell Scholarship, American Indian College Fund scholarships. They are open, and we highly encourage you to encourage your students to apply. We will be holding some webinars that will help them and guiding them through the process of filling out their applications for scholarships. So just keep up to date on that. We'll get to that later in the agenda as well. So that is all that I have on the President's report. Again, we will follow up with all this information in a follow-up email. Are there any questions? I know that was a lot to take in, so I thank you for your patience and hearing me out. All right, if there are none, we can move on to our treasurer's report, and I am going to turn it over to Travis.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to see not old faces, but our committed members and then some new faces as well. I always like to give this background about our funding, is that we established a nonprofit organization, Arizona Indian Education Association, back in 2002. And we used to host youth and parent conferences. And we've always get a little bit of a profit off of those conferences. Sorry, it's my boss. We've always had a profit, and we opened up an account with Desert Financial to manage those monies. And then I think it was 2014, Jesus, there was some activity with AIEA, and there was discussion about dissolving the organization, and a group of committed Indian education staff that felt like this organization is still very much needed. And so, but they felt they needed some support from an organization, they felt like they needed support to establish a fiscal agent to support the activities of AIEA. And Intertribal Council of Arizona decided to step up and be that fiscal agent. So we have another account with ITCA, so I'll report on those accounts. For ITCA, for the January, we've had, I did some postage back in January so I can mail some stipends to the students who participated in who were camp mentors for our winter camp that we had. And it looks like I printed out some paper as well. So our total expenses for the month of January was $2.57. We received a donation and a membership fees last January in the amount of $250 was from John Bastian. So very thankful for his donation. And then there was somebody else, $25. I think it was from Esther. Esther, was that you? I think it was you. But we received a membership fee from one of the partner organizations. I don't have that available with me right now. I apologize. I am also, for the ITCA account, we had a total expenses of $46,626.09. Our revenue is $10,810.37. And our deficit is $35,816.57. And so I know that sounds like a really scary number, but ITCA serving as the fiscal agent, we are covering those expenses. So that's something that we will continue to support AIEA as we move forward until we feel that AIEA has the capacity to manage their own account. For the financial, I wasn't able to bring up the current numbers, but there's been no activity with, I'm sorry. And one thing I wanted to report was that we do additional donations. I just got them today. We received a donation from John's brother, Tom Bastian and Greg Bastian, and the total amount of $450. So we're very thankful for John and his brothers for supporting IAEA in this manner. And so that will be reflected in the February report. For the Desert Financial, there's been no activity, so I'm just going to report back what was reported in the last meeting. We do sometimes get a dividend in our savings account. It's just a couple of cents to maybe $1. So that that amount might be a bit different. But so far, our checking is $434.86, and our savings is $42,593.30. And that concludes my treasurer's report.
Thank you, Travis. I always appreciate how you provide that background for AIEA for those who are unaware or just would like to know more about that. So, all right. Are there any other questions or any questions for Travis? Again, thank you. Express my great thanks on behalf of AIEA to John Bastian and his brothers for providing that support for us through their generous donations. Thank you, John. All right, if there are no questions, then we can move on in the agenda to old business. So under old business, we have our educators banquet and award celebration. So I am going to turn it over to Jerry to provide an update. So Jerry?
Mm-hmm. So earlier this month, we did do our educators banquet planning committee. So for the committee meeting, the big thing was, the big update was that we only received 2 nominations. And also we decided because of that to postpone the event altogether. So that would give us more time to not only plan the event, but also receive nominations. So we edited the nomination form. Let me actually upload it really quick. So I'm going to stop the share and I really hope this attaches to the chat box, but this is the updated form for the nomination form. So for the award banquet, we have this year 11 11 awards. So that included the additional award for the Resiliency Award, which came out this year. And we wanted to basically recognize educators, both in class and not in class, um, for the year. And basically, we just request that you submit the form, and when you submit the form, just complete it as best as you can. It's just very simple, 500 words, and about the person that you're nominating, and then just basic information from the nominator. So we did edit the form, and then we moved the deadline for submitting nominations for August 6th, so that Friday. So that would give us enough time to review the nominations and then score the nominations, and then notify the recipients that they've won. And then we're going to have more information on the event itself. So we moved the date back. So the original date was Saturday, February 27th. But because we only were like 6 weeks out at the time in January last month, we wanted to give us more time to plan, but also more time to receive nominations. So we decided to postpone it to September 18th. September is usually the month that we do the event in itself. The 2019 was the last time we did the event, and we had it in September. And for planning this year's event, we are tentatively planning it as a virtual event. We're just like most people, when we're planning the event, we're going to monitor the COVID-19 changes to see whether we should hold it as an in-person event very carefully. But right now, we're just planning it as a virtual event. Just for safety precaution. And also we will be hosting it on Zoom. And then this year we have the 11 awards. The award categories are on the right. And the committee did finalize our sponsorship letter. So it's ready to be released to potential sponsors. So we do have a list of potential sponsors that we are researching and that we will have contact information for to send the sponsorship letter out to them. And so we're slowly planning our way to number one, get sponsorship, number two, receive nomination forms, and then number three, nailing down the planning the individual event activities itself. So we are doing a silent auction. We already picked out and confirmed our keynote speaker, who is Lynette Stant, the 2020 Teacher of the Year for Arizona. And then also we're going to be planning a raffle and sort of the process of how to feature those items that we will be raffling and also auctioning off. So another fourth item is to also collect artwork. So right now we're in the process of advertising our call for artwork from students. So we do have a flyer. We advertised it at our winter youth camp in December. And then also we will continue our monthly meetings. So we're doing monthly meetings right now. It's easier for everyone's schedules, but also we don't really have major responsibilities that we need to complete in a timely manner just yet. But as the event itself gets closer, most likely in the summertime, is then we'll start having more bi-monthly or weekly meetings, so that as it gets closer to the event date, we'll have more time together to decide big decisions and making those decisions for the event. So those are basically the updates for the Educators Banquet Committee. If anyone is interested in joining the committee, please let me know. That's my contact information, so my email and my phone number. Or if you have any questions about the event or the nomination form, just feel free to contact me. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Jerry, for that update. I know, again, that's a lot of information, but if you have any questions, feel free to contact her, as she mentioned, for any updates or questions you may have at a later time. We do want our nomination forms to go out, so we are hoping that you'll help us make that happen. So we'll get that sent out also to the membership, so that way you can help us spread the word. So. All right, if there's no questions, we can move on in the agenda. That was all the old business we had. So our new business will start off with our webinar series. And so we're very excited that we're going to be starting this up once again. We have two separate webinar sessions that we're going to be hosting. And so I am again going to turn it over to Jerry to provide an update on what we have envisioned.
So just some quick updates for existing webinar series. So right now for our call, I'm sorry, okay, so the slides are a little mixed up. So what we're doing right now is for our webinar committee, we are focusing on the AIEA scholarship application, but also in general providing scholarship tips and scholarship directions for students. So what we're focusing for the committee right now is seeking presenters for our webinars. And also we're going to be exploring the following topics, including writing a personal statement, writing a resume and cover letter, and then volunteer and cultural opportunities for Native students. The reason why we picked out these topics is because these are elements that are implemented in our scholarship application every year. So a personal statement, a pretty short statement, only 2 pages long, is needed for our scholarship application, and then a 1-page resume or a CV for graduate students who decide to, submit a CV rather than a resume. And then also for volunteer and cultural opportunities, a lot of the students, when they apply to the AIEA scholarship, because we have 3 categories, they usually like to pick out the most popular categories, which are the academic, and then the excellence, or I'm sorry, I think it was, Kim, if you can help me, there was the academic award, exemplary award. So those 2 awards are very popular with all the students. But one of the other scholarship categories is that they require cultural students to exemplify cultural experiences that they've had, volunteering for elders, or being active in their community, giving back, and then also being culturally adept, so that they have knowledge about their culture, and they're very active in their culture. They do dances, they do painting, or they sing, or they speak their own language, something like that. So what we wanted to do is to heavily advertise that category of the award, but also take a look at volunteer and cultural opportunities for Native students to put in their resume or to put in their personal statements, so that they can better write down the opportunities that they've already had, but also explore the opportunities that are already there here in Arizona for the students. So right now, we are seeking presenters, and we're also seeking webinar committee members, so that we can have help planning these webinars. So we usually just meet like once or twice a month, and we usually have a presenter on the line, so that we can we can plan with the presenter and then also do a run through webinar the day before the webinar actually happens. So if anyone has any questions for each other, then we have time to do that before the webinar starts. And then also we plan our next webinar usually a day or two after so that we can figure out which presenters we want to approach next. So right now we've been reaching out to presenters for our personal statement and our resume writing, but so far no one has really given concrete confirmation that they can do the webinar, or that the person that they recommend may not be able to confirm that they can do it on the dates that we would like. But we are very flexible. We just want to make sure that this webinar happens so that even if those that don't attend, we can put it up on our YouTube channel so it is recorded so students can watch it. So we especially want to do that, and then we have that reference there. We have an ITCA AIEA scholarship web page, so we would have that recording there for them if they have any questions about writing a statement or writing a resume or finding cultural or volunteer opportunities for the students. So we want to have that resource there for them. And then again, heavily promote the web page itself, because I know students, they have a lot of questions, and a lot of the questions can be answered through the frequent question and answer web page right there. So those are all the updates for the webinar committee. But again, if you want to suggest a presenter or request more information about the webinar, please let me know. And then next, we are planning a cultural webinar series. So the focus of this webinar series is having a virtual format to display family arts and crafts webinars or tutorials. So we had this idea on the burner for a while just because we wanted to do something to help plan for the raffle and the silent auction items. So we usually collect arts and crafts from the students that attended the winter youth camp or just the youth camps in general. And so far, we haven't received any donations so far. So what we wanted to do was advertise this cultural webinar series. So that would be happening like once a month or maybe quarterly, so that we can have an opportunity to connect with families and connect with students that we serve here in Arizona to educate about, Native American cultural arts and crafts. One of the things that we wanted to do to plan our first webinar is doing a baby ribbon skirt making tutorial. So I've learned how to make ribbon skirts from the tutorial that the Native Health here in Phoenix offered for the community. So in doing that, we would be able to teach others in the community how to, create ribbon skirts, and then also other arts and crafts, so that we'll be able to, have an opportunity to advertise that, hey, we're accepting donations if you would like to donate, your ribbon skirt or your other arts and crafts. And then also we are seeking presenters in the community to teach, their arts and craft skill, and then also seeking donations for the 2020 Educators Banquet. But again, if you have any donations or if you have a presenter in mind or just like more information about the webinars, my contact information is below. So does anyone have any questions?
All right. Well, just to elaborate a little bit about what Jerry's talking about for our cultural webinar series, this is something we want to try and implement and to get going, as you mentioned, but also to try and involve our parents and community. This is a session where the students and the parents will, or even grandparents or relatives, can be a part, and will engage them in an arts and craft activity, and also to learn about the story of the reason why a certain design is done the way it is, why certain colors are used, the time of when you can create this type of art, specific to your tribe and your culture, or even just on a generalization basis for Native American students and families. And so this is something that we want to help implement as AIEA to also help educate about that cultural aspect. And so this is the reason why we wanted to create this type of webinar series for our community. So just a little bit more about that. Are there any questions about the webinars? Once we do have confirmations, uh, as far as our scholarship webinars, it's just a conflict of schedules that we haven't really been able to nail down. So once we do have that confirmed, again, as Jerry mentioned, we'll send that out as well. So yes, Leanne.
Hi, this is Leanne Bighorse, and I just had a comment regarding the cultural webinars that you have that you want to plan. So as a part of Native Health, we do our tribal practices and youth resiliency program, and we are actually doing monthly cultural activities for the community now. So last month we had winter autumn storytelling from Salt River Pima Maricopa cultural specialist Jacob Butler. This month we're doing medicine bag making. Next month we're doing Apache traditional song workshop. But it's open to the community and to youth, and I'm willing to help out with that aspect, however I can. So, yeah, so I'm just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Leanne. I really appreciate that. We are open to partnering and collaborating with local Native education or local Native organizations to make this happen. So thank you for offering that. We'll definitely be in touch to see if we can get some webinars scheduled for us. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
On that note, I also forgot to mention that Phoenix Indian Center has also reached out to us. I spoke with Julianne Krupa Begay, I believe, or maybe Juliana Begay Krupa, who is a part of the Phoenix Indian Center, is willing to collaborate with us on making that happen as well. So great things are happening with our organization and venturing and branching out. So we welcome all collaborations on getting these type of webinar sessions out to our community. So thank you so much for your support and encouragement. Are there any questions or comments? All right, if none, we'll move on. Thank you again to our next item, which is our 2021 AIEA Student Scholarship. Every year we try and get this out to our students in a timely manner for them. It's open to students in middle school, high school, and at the college/graduate level for an opportunity to receive 3 different types of scholarships for each level. So for the middle schoolers, we have as Jerry mentioned, our academic scholarship, our exemplary scholarship, and the Make a Difference scholarship. So those 3 categories are offered for each level that I will allow Jerry some time to explain. So Jerry, if you could provide a quick update on this and what we're wanting to do.
Yeah, so here is an image of the current scholarship webpage that we have up on the ITCA website. So right now we're in the process of not only planning our this year's student scholarship, but also we're going to be doing scholarship the webpage update. So right now, this is like an example of what we're going to be steering towards this year. So we have scholarship updates from last year. Because of COVID, we had some exceptions to our requirements. So that included, especially for middle school and high school students, because they didn't have access to the offices of their schools, they couldn't really actually get their transcripts. So we were able to have an exception for them. And then on top of that, we had an extension. So we had sort of a priority deadline. So we added like a 1 or 2 extra points for them meeting the priority deadline, which was the original deadline before we had the actual final deadline. So we had the actual final deadline for August, and we advertised our scholarship application. A lot of the students, some of the students said that they couldn't really edit the PDF format. So this year we're going to have it more accessible to them. So we're probably just going to have it as a Word document. And then also at the bottom there is the student scholarship frequent questions and answers portion. So a lot of the basic information the students have questions about, that can all be found at that FAQ portion down at the bottom there. So we do have the amounts and everything on the application, but as we are doing now for the scholarship committee, we're having a call for committee members so that we can edit the scholarship application for this year. And what we do for the committee is, one of the big things is we want to have ideas for the new theme and have a discussion about that. But then also next, we want to implement an art requirement this year. So the art requirement is what we were talking about for this year, is that usually we had, so last year we had students interview elders in their community, and then also learn about language for their tribe. So it was a good opportunity for them to have like cultural connectedness with their elders. And then also what we want to do like this year is sort of think a little outside the box, like we did last year for the interviews. So this year we wanted to see if we could implement an art requirement and take a look at how doable that is. So we wanted to do an art requirement to help with donations for the AIEA educators banquet for this year. So the art requirement, we're thinking of having students make a small art piece and then do sort of an analysis of what the art means to them, and then what sort of cultural elements that they would like to include in their art. And then also the normal committee responsibilities is finalize and release the application in April, and then also review the scoring charts that we've had before, and then also review applications in August, and then select the awards in August. So that's basically what the scholarship committee actually does. But again, for this year, we just wanted to take a look at new themes and also implement the art requirement. So the art requirement will go with the theme. So we usually throw a theme out for students to write about in the personal statement, but also in their personal statement for this year, we're thinking about adding the art requirement that would surround what the new theme is, and then have them write about both the theme and the art inside the personal statement. But those are just what our ideas are for. We want to have a scholarship committee to discuss, how this would go about, and if we have any new ideas that can really pushes us members to really think about our students. So if anyone would like to volunteer to be on the committee or would like more information about the scholarship itself, just let me know. But does anyone have any questions so far?
Okay, if there are none, thank you, Jerry, for providing that update on our student scholarship. Every year we look forward to this. And again, if you're interested in serving on the committee, please contact Jerry. If there are no other questions, we're moving on in the agenda to our summer youth camp. This is something that we started back in 2017. at the request of students wanting to learn more about our people and to learn more about what treaties were and how we can protect our land. What can they do as the youth to do that? And so in 2017, we held our first summer camp, Protecting Our Land summer camp. And every year it's been a wonderful experience, and the students each gain something and want to come back for more. And so, unfortunately, again, due to the pandemic that took place, as with a lot of events that were scheduled, it was postponed to a later time. Eventually, we ended up just creating a winter camp. So right now, we're looking at hosting two separate camps, one in the summer and one in the winter. And so with that, we are planning and we would like to start planning for our summer youth camp. And I'm going to again let Jerry explain and update you on what that will look like for this year. Jerry?
So just really quickly for the winter youth camp follow-up. Right now, I'm in the process of distributing student packages. During the camp, we had student packages planned for the students, but due to time and other things that came up, we decided to just give out student packages as conveniently as possible. So we made trips down to Tucson to distribute packages in person to students. And then also we distributed packages here in Phoenix to students that attended. And then also there were some students that didn't live in the particular area that we decided to just because of time, we decided to help do student packages, like mail the student packages to them by mail. So we are right now in the process of still finishing up some of those packages to be mailed off. And then also we're also in the process of completing registration payments. So right now, ITCA is our fiscal agent, so they are receiving payments for the camp. And also we sort of disassembled the youth camp committee just so we could have more time to do our other committee activities. But now that we're thinking about doing a summer youth camp, we're going to have another call for camp committee members. This will help plan the virtual youth camp. So we're actually going to be doing a virtual summer youth camp. And we're throwing out ideas about having it for multiple days because of how doable it was for us to hold our December dates that are on the flyer right there. So 2 days were good, but we're thinking about maybe more than 3 days would be better to help connect with the students and also have more activities and more time for them to do, because the 2 days were good, but it felt like it was sort of jam-packed. We felt like we had to move on to one activity to another very hastily. So we wanted to make sure that we wanted to have more time with the students and more time for them to have with the presenters themselves. And also with the youth camp committee, we would brainstorm ideas and also have ideas for presenters and volunteers to help reach out for those volunteers, the presenters, and the college mentors. So that's basically it that we have for the summer camp so far. We're hoping to start up the youth camp committee by March so we can have a better idea of what we want to do by May. But usually the summer youth camps that we used to have before COVID, we had in July. So we're probably aiming for those dates again in July so we have more time to plan. Luckily, we do have a lot of our supplies already put together. We still have a lot of leftover student packages, which are good. And we have a lot of t-shirts from our camps before that we will be giving out to the students. So this year, what we want to do is also better plan the distribution of student packages in a more timely manner, so they have their more students have their supplies, so all students can have their supplies before the camp themselves. But does anyone have any questions?
All right. If there are none, in addition to that, as Jerry mentioned, we would like to plan this and get some dates set so that we can distribute our student materials in a timely manner, as you mentioned. That was one of the drawbacks with our winter camp, just due to the scheduling and timing of trying to get those to the student participants. So we're looking at having, it's just a learning process, and we're wanting to improve and make things smoother and better. So this is one of the ways we can do that, is by planning further ahead to get those packages to the students at an earlier time. So, all right, if there's no questions about the summer youth camp, we'll move on to our next item, which is our parent engagement workshops. This is something that, as Travis mentioned earlier, AIEA used to host parent conferences and student conferences for the membership and community. Um, we haven't had any type of parent conference or any type of parent outreach really for in the years that I have been a part of AIEA. So I wanted to get your feedback from the membership here that are involved on this particular meeting on your thoughts. And Travis, if you could just elaborate a little bit more about the parent conferences that we used to hold, and what type of workshops were provided. And I just like some type of discussion on how we can try and implement those workshops again, or even if we want to try and plan a parent conference sometime in the future. But Travis, if you could just elaborate a little bit on that, please.
Yeah, it's in our constitution and bylaws that the three main purposes of AIEA would be to provide youth engagement through youth conferences, parent engagement through the parent conference, and then professional development for Indian education staff in Arizona. And so we used to partner with Glendale Community College, and that we would have the conference during their spring break. And we'd use the Johnson O'Malley Title VI parent committees to recruit parents to attend those conferences. And it was always a little challenging because, parents have little kids, and you really can't have like, babysitters in these community colleges. But, we did get parents to attend. And I'm trying to think of some of the topics. I remember there was a workshop around Navajo history and culture curriculum. There was one on, well, I used to do an InMed presentation, so encouraging parents to encourage their kids to pursue, or how to pursue, the health careers. I think there was some on education or scholarship information. We typically had a keynote speaker. I remember the last one we had was Chris Teschini, when he was right. I think I don't remember what he was doing at the time, but he was an Arizona State leader. Deborah Norris was really involved in the parent conference when she was the director of Office of Indian Education. So I think the topics were just making sure that how do we support our parents while their youth are pursuing education. And so although there was also a lot of cultural workshops as well. So being that that's one of our primary purposes for AIEA, I think it would be good to maybe re-explore the opportunity to do these engagement workshops while we're in this pandemic and everything can be virtual. It's one of the purposes that's in the act that establishes the Office of Indian Education, and I think they could play a key partner in helping to facilitate these workshops. So I think in the spirit of keeping with our mission, I think it would be good to start looking at planning some workshops on that.
Thank you, Travis. And I couldn't agree more. You know, we those of us that work directly with students during this past year have seen the challenges that have faced a lot of our Native parents and families with just trying to keep our head above the water, so to speak, you know, especially for our students and their academic achievements. And so I think this is something, the reason why I have it on the agenda, I just want your feedback from our membership on you're just, you know, and to engage in this discussion on how we can try and bring something back, and what, if anybody knows how we can get our partnerships going with, for instance, as Travis mentioned, with the Office of Indian Education, or even through the Native Health Program, as Leanne had mentioned earlier, or even through the Phoenix Indian Center. You know, we're willing and open to collaborate with um, those who are willing to support this initiative. And so I am going to open it up for discussion for any suggestions or input from the membership here.
And just to add one thing, I see Katie's on the line. So Katie, I know that you were very heavily involved in the parent workshops too. So if you have any thoughts or recall what kind of activities were provided, that'd be helpful as well.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I was sitting here just nodding my head. I remember, you know, that's sad that it's like the good old days. um, but we really had some very well informed staff at that time. Um, you know, just Teresa Price, she took on a lot of the training herself. So she did like a native craft sessions, how to read data, you know, just kind of hitting on target areas that the parents really need right now, especially in this time, because, you know, the first quarter we had students take their assessments online at home, you know, with no kind of controlled environments. And right now our test scores came back really inflated, where our kindergarten and first grade are exceeding everything. And they're kindergartners who just first finally came into school. So, you know, they kind of threw those tests to the side and gave different ones that are more targeted and specific, um, and given more hands-on direct instruction with the teachers that show their actual levels. But you know, just that in itself, you know, helping the parents to understand that, you know, yes, my child is sitting here taking a test, but I can't help them with it. That importance of just letting them take it on their own. Um, we had legislative sessions, you know, helping the parents to connect. You know, if I send my child to school, what is the next step? How things get done at the state level, kind of helping them to connect with the whole process with the schools. And yes, like Travis said, we used Title VI JOM funds, and that was my whole background of promoting parent involvement. So I would let the parents know, you know, we have this annual parent conference, and the ones who attend PAC, that, you know, that has the best attendance for our PAC meetings will be able to go to this conference. You know, we'll pay for your way to go over there. So that was the incentive. So I had, you know, the best and highest parent involvement group at that time. And right now, I feel like, you know, there's no incentive for them. It, and it really was a place for the parents to connect with one another around the state and let them know, you know, even though we're in rural Arizona, that people across the other state, part of the state, are going through the same things that we are. So just helping them to see, you know, they can learn from one another, and it really is something that we're missing at this level right now, and I'd like to see that brought back.
Thank you, Katie. Great insight. And I came on board with AIE after all that took place, and I became involved with Indian education after the fact, after all that had happened with at a state level with AIEA. So I unfortunately was unable to attend any of the parent conferences that they held back then, but I heard many great things about the partnerships and the workshops that were provided for the parents at that time. And just as is mentioned here, that I think that's something that's very well needed for our parents right now. And so if there's some way, even if we don't have an actual conference or plan an actual conference, at least start some engagement workshops. Paul had mentioned in the chat, that student voice is a hot topic, and that maybe that could be a way to frame these workshops, and to help encourage the parents to get involved, our community to get involved, and exactly what type of workshops we need. So Paul mentioned from the community parent and student voices framework. So Paul, would you like to elaborate a little bit on what you mean by that?
Always love an opportunity to elaborate. Do I have like 20 minutes, maybe 30?
Well, we love hearing you provide your input, so speak away.
All right. Well, I just like to hear the sound of my own voice. So we're working on this thing with the transition to the Biden administration. And I ran into some folks who thought they had a direct connection. It turns out not so much, because somebody else got the Secretary of Education job. So that was a fascinating process to watch out how that did. The Native friends that I have are so much more connected and dialed into what is going on in Washington. So I'm assuming that conversation informs this too. It just seems like right now everybody wants to know what the kids are thinking, because we've all learned that the kids are so much more comfortable in the digital environment. It's a little frightening for us as adults who existed before the digital environment to see how dependent some kids are on living in that world. And so I think that's kind of the starting point of asking them, okay, how are you doing? How does it feel? Because we've all sat at the dinner table where everybody's on their phone, and it's just different. Well, now we're in classrooms where everybody's on their phone, in schools where everybody's on their phone, in meetings like this one. Is that the new normal? And what do kids think of it? And I think we're listening to hear how it's affecting them. And it goes back to Kimberly, what you were saying. We've all worked with parents and we hear from them. And so we have to listen very well. So maybe it's a listening session to find out, and by that way, get the engagement that you're after. It really is, we're not going to inform anybody of anything at this point. We are asking to listen, to hear, to understand. And then maybe a part of the process for this group would be to put that into a strategic approach for further future sessions, future, all the different things that we already do. Like, where's the event? Where's the dinner? Really honor what we've heard. We heard this and we did that because of it. So I think it all fits together beautifully. I think it's a great idea.
I really like that idea of doing a listening session. Maybe that's something where at least we can start at as AIEA to start having these listening sessions for parents and students. So that way we can, kind of frame around what our workshops or even future conferences may look like, and possibly even bring back a student conference when that time allows at a later time. But any other comments or questions or input? We'd like to hear your suggestions and input. Okay, well, thank you for those who provided your input. And if you have any input you would like to provide or suggestions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can reach any of our executive officers. We also have our email. Jerry, if you could drop that in the chat box. It's a Gmail that we regularly check. I check it every day for any incoming messages. So if you have any, if you would like to further assist us with this, please share your suggestions by email to us, and we'll once we do decide on what we would like to do and how we would like to proceed, we will definitely let the membership know. So thank you, AIEA, for your input and suggestions on this important topic. With that, we'll move on to professional development, which is our next um, item on the agenda. For this one, let's see, I'm not sure if John is still on the call. Yes, John, if you're able, I know that you had mentioned about a suggestion for professional development, and I'm gonna allow you some time to talk a little bit more about that. But first, I just want to explain the reason why this is on the agenda is because we've had professional development sessions after, normally we would hold them after our general meetings. We haven't had one in quite some time, just due to the transitions and changes and adjustments that have taken place within this last year. But this is something I would like for our membership to bring back as an organization, to offer that professional development for our educators that are out there. And one of the suggestions came from John Bastian, one of our members. And so, John, I'm going to turn it over to you to elaborate a little bit about the suggestion you had shared with me a few weeks ago.
I think you're referring to the mention of the a speaker from the Jack Kent Cooke Foundation. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So I work at the community college, one of the community colleges in Maricopa. And Jack Kent Cooke Foundation is a foundation on the East Coast in the Washington, Virginia area. And they have a great scholarship. They have like 3 different programs, okay? And I know they would like to see more Native Americans receive some of their awards. Now, this is not a type of program where we're going to get tons of Native students as part of this, but it can be a life changer for those who can get involved. They have something for students starting, I believe, in grade 7, kind of a follow along type of thing. And then they have something for high school seniors to apply. And I think they provide up to $40,000 a year per scholarship. It's a last dollar type of thing. In other words, students would have to apply for financial aid, use the FAFSA and all that other type of thing first. And then they have at the community college, when I'm familiar with this somewhat, another scholarship to transfer to a bachelor's degree institution. And the reason I like this is not only the money that can make a difference for students going to college, but because they have advising and follow along services too, and they sometimes even provide support for graduate students. I was at, I forget, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but what's that, Kimberly, the conference I was at in Tulsa, NASAI, is that how I say it, I think?
Right, the NASAI conference, Native
Yeah, and I was talking to a representative from the Jack Kent Cooke Foundation there, and somebody was at that conference because they want to recruit more Native students. Now, it's a very competitive scholarship program. And again, there's three different programs from my understanding. And I could even put look up the website and put it in the chat in a second. But it provides great opportunities, and it's good to promote this awareness. Again, it's not going to touch, hundreds of Native students, but it might touch, a handful every year, or it might even be the process of simply, if a counselor at a school is aware of this and reaches out to a student and might provide some confidence to the student, even to help that student go through the process of applying for such a prestigious or good scholarship. Again, it could be, I think they do a program starting in 7th grade and one in high school, moving to college, and then one at the community colleges. But I'm just wondering if people would like to hear a speaker from this foundation, and then people can decide how they want to share this information, distribute it to parents, to high school counselors, to students, that type of thing. Just because I think it can be, I know it can be a life changer for some people. And they particularly target people, a diversity of students from all types of backgrounds, but they particularly look at people with a threshold of family household income, I think below 90,000. So again, it's in general, it's targeted towards people of, could be any ethnic or racial background, but it's certainly not going to a lot of rich families, from my understanding. And so it would provide opportunity for us to hear what's out there a little bit, and just, then we can make a decision, or individuals can make a decision of what they think and move forward. And if people are interested, I could reach out to somebody. I visited with somebody, I think it was last spring, about this a little more. And I could reach out to that person again if people are interested.
Thank you, John. I think that's great. One of the great ideas that we can share out as a professional development. As mentioned, it's something that we want our educators to gain this information and to also help share what opportunities are out there for a lot of our students who are seeking higher education. So thank you, John, for sharing that information with our membership, and we'll definitely look into this as one of our possible PD sessions that we have coming up. And so again, normally we have those sessions after our general meetings. So that particular meeting will be extended for a couple of hours into the afternoon during those times. But again, we've had really great sessions in the past. I know with the Federal Reserve, Bank of the Federal Reserves was one of our professional developments that offer curriculum that is shared out for our students. We still have a lot of that material still. So if there's anybody interested in wanting financial curriculum, they also have it translated in a native tongue. And so they can do that as well. There's a lot of resources that they offer for our students and schools. And so if you're interested in that, we still have the contacts and information for that as well. But I think that is something that we need to provide for our educators, again, is just to provide that professional development for them. So is there any comment or suggestions that you would like to see as professional development sessions? Please share out during this time. So I'll allow anyone to provide that input. Okay, well, I know time is getting away from us, but if you have any suggestions, please feel free to email that to us and we'll take a look at it. And again, I'd like to try and bring this professional development workshops back to our AIEA. So we'll provide further updates as the time goes on. So if there's no comments, we'll move on to the next item of the agenda, which is our update for the Office of Indian Education. So I am going to ask Lynn Ann if she could provide this update. She currently sits as the chair for our Indian Education Advisory Council for the Arizona State Office of Indian Education. So Lynn Ann, if you could provide some updates for the membership here.
Hi, Kim. Thank you. I hope you can hear me okay. I had to switch to my phone, but so Office of Indian Education, as you may or may not know, is currently going through the strategic planning process of, well, I should say, creating a strategic plan so that the office will better serve our students in the state, and not just our students, but additional stakeholders. You know, when we talk about engaging new teachers, you know, recruiting teachers and retaining teachers as well. So by the process they're going through right now is to gather input, feedback from all these various stakeholders. And in fact, I think some of you joined us a little late today because you were participating in one of those sessions, which was the tribal leader session. There is currently a parent survey that is available on OIE's website. And they are asking parents to complete these and fill them out to be able to provide their input. There's going to be a student opportunity panel discussion time next Saturday on the 27th. And I believe that start time is 1 p.m. I can go ahead and send out information just like I did after the last meeting, and I'll include all of that information in there. So there's the student portion of it. Once all of this data, data, feedback, input, information is gathered, they will then use that to move forward with their strategic plan. They are basing it off of 4 pillars, and I apologize that I'm trying to pull up those pillars, but if anybody has them readily available, if you can put those in the chat, that would be great, and I'd appreciate it. You know, one of those pillars is the pathways that I was talking about for educators, tribal consultation, basically what are tribes doing, how are tribes and schools collaborating to better serve our students. Also looking at parent involvement, that's obviously a big one. We definitely need to involve our parents more. So that's another one that we talked about. And then partnerships, community partnerships for the Office of Indian Education, for them to be able to utilize those services and resources that are already available, but just promoting those more and trying to figure out how those fit into the strategic plan. So those are things that are happening now. The next meeting of the Indian Education Advisory Council will be happening in April. And those of you who are a part of that council will receive your invitation soon for that. So as of now, other than that, other than the $1 million allocation for the office, I believe those are the current updates. Oh, also, if you are a Jackson O'Malley program, or you either coordinate or are part of the JOM program, Terry Villers-Saucedo, she did send out a calendar of dates, also distinguishing between the different fiscal calendars, yearly calendar. We all operate on different calendars. So she did send out guidance for that. I can also provide that link once I send all the information out for this meeting. There are the new forms that are out and available as well for Title VI and JOM. So I don't know if you've all received those, but we can also include that, those attachments in a future email. I hope that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn Ann. Those pillars that she was talking about, I did drop those in the chat box. Katie also dropped the tribal leaders strategic planning meeting that they held today. It was actually during the same time as this meeting is taking place. And so those who, as Lynn Ann mentioned, came on later were a part of that meeting earlier this morning. So those are in the chat box there. And I see that John just dropped the Jack Kent Cook Foundation website in the chat box as well, if you want more information about that. But there's lots going on. This is a time where we're able to provide all of those updates. So if there's no questions or comments for Lynn Ann about the Office of Indian Education, we'll move on. Any questions? Let me ask that first. Any questions or comments? All right. Again, we'll provide Lynn, we'll send out a follow-up email with all of this information that was provided at this meeting today. So with that, we're coming up. It is a little bit after 1 o'clock. So we normally have our program share out. So I am going to turn it over to our members to share maybe 1 or 2 minutes of your program updates that you would like the membership to hear. And we appreciate your time. So I am going to open it.
Hello, this is Leanne. Can you hear me okay? Hi. Well, I just wanted to share a couple things that we're doing here at Native Health that is open to Native youth and to community members and families. So every week we host a Native youth talking circle. And that talking circle is on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock and it's virtually. At these sessions, we offer a song, a traditional song, or a cultural exchange by community members throughout the state of Arizona. We invite them to come and share a song and the significance of it. And then we have, topics that we discuss. And then also we, excuse me, I'm sorry. And then we have a youth council that we meet every twice a month. In that month, we also do a cultural exchange event. And as I mentioned, this month we're doing medicine bag making. Next month we have Apache traditional singing by Joseph Kise from the White Mountain Apache community. We also have our Walk in Your Mock series. It's a winter story series, and that is actually tomorrow. So it's a 5K, virtual 5K that we're doing. But I would just like to invite, any collaboration on any of the activities that we're doing. We do have, youth and parents involvement, and, we're open to collaborating on any kind of events that you have going, especially dealing with culture. That's pretty much what we focus on as well. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Leanne. Anybody else?
Hello, it's me again, Esther. I just like to share out that this coming Tuesday on February 23rd, we are hosting our 4th winter stories with Mr. Freddie Johnson. I will share the link from our WebEx for that meeting this Tuesday. Also, we are also looking for a tribal liaison. COVID-19 has been hard on our program with staff, teachers, everyone. But we are looking for a liaison to help us complete this year. And we are also looking for a Navajo language teacher for next school year. Someone who can be full-time with us and dedicated to teaching the Navajo Dene Bazav language within our district and help us make that grow. So that's a couple of areas, and we're continuing to move on and give support to our students. That's all I have. Thank you. AIEA.
Awesome. I know that Esther's group does a lot of cultural activities with their students, so I always enjoy seeing the children's art and all the cool things that they make through their pictures. So you guys are doing an awesome job. Thank you, Esther. Anybody else?
This is Lynanne really quickly with Phoenix Union High School District. Next school year, we are looking to fill a Native American advisor position. And just like Esther, we will also be seeking a person to teach Navajo government with some culture mixed into it. We currently have Navajo language. We do have a Navajo language teacher, but we want to expand on the courses that we are offering. So thank you.
Thank you, Lynanne. Anybody else? I'll read out what Katie Parker, she's with the White Mountain Apaches. She said, while presenting to the school board work session, she shared the challenge of trying to meet with local tribal leaders to complete consultation. And within 15 minutes, she had a call from a representative with the chairwoman's office who set up a tribal consultation meeting the following Monday. Through the consultation, the tribe will be looking into funding a truancy officer for the district. So congratulations, Katie. I know that a lot of us on this call continuously advocate on behalf of our Native students and families, and trying to get these positions available and to fill them. So thank you to all of you for the advocacy that you do on behalf of our Native students and families. So congratulations, Katie, for that. If there are no other comments or program share outs, I do want to mention that Tuesday seems to be a popular day for a lot of events. But in addition to all the wonderful events that were shared here, I will be on the Save Our Schools Arizona network. They are hosting what they call Indigenous Perspectives. This is hosted by Nadine Grenig. She was the former director for the Office of Indian Education for the State Department. But she has been hosting these sessions for the past few months. And so even Esther and I have been on a previous call with her back in November about talking about celebrating our heritage. This month this coming week, she's focusing on how COVID-19 has affected Native students in their education. So I'll be on a three-person panel coming up on Tuesday that's going to start at 5 o'clock. We'll share that out with our follow-up information after this meeting, as well as share out on our Facebook as well. As I mentioned, we try and get all the information out on our social media platform that kind of hits everybody, seems to hit everybody a lot quicker, but we will follow up with the email. So is there any other program share outs before we try and come to an end? A lot of talk is going on in the chat box, so I encourage you to take a look at that, save it if you can. Jerry, if you're able to save that chat so we can get all the great information that's being provided there. Sounds good, Kate. Thank you for joining us. And we'll get that information out on further updates for legislation. All right, if there's none other share outs, then I would go on to the next item on the agenda, which will be our adjournment. So I would need a motion to adjourn the meeting for today.
Hey, this is Esther. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 1:09.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second?
This is Jerry. I second the motion.
All right. So motion on the floor, seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Or hang up? No. Thank you, everybody, so much for your time and patience with us today. We had a rough start, but we ended with a bang. So thank you so much for participating, for all of your input and suggestions, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Just as a reminder, all of our general meetings are currently held the third Friday of every month. We do have a calendar up on our website, so we'll get all that information out to you guys as well in a follow-up email. So thank you again so much for your time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and we will see you next month.
Thank you, Kimberly. Take care, everyone. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.